As an organization, we want to be aware of and vigilant towards the risks to our business and to the rights of the data subject. That's why it's important that we assess our risks in a structured manner and that we mitigate any that are above our tolerance, which is what we all know as risk management. But risk management is hard. There are thousands of opinions on how you should even do risk assessments. Then you still need to somehow keep a structured overview of all your risks. And then it can be near impossible to get involvement from the people in the organization who actually have the required knowledge to fill in these risk assessments. Because this is an area that is wholly unfamiliar to most of them. That's why the Wide Relations Risk module is built based on the best practices and feedback of some of our industry-leading customers. And with it, you can manage your risks in a structured and organized manner while making it easy and user-friendly to involve your colleagues that are new to this. Now let's take a look at how you manage your risks in Wide Relations. The Wide Relations Risk module can be found in the main menu in the top left. And when I open it, I'm immediately met with a quick overview of the risk assessments we've previously created and are currently still working on. As we can see, there are two for different systems and then one for the process of salary payments in Germany. The bottom two are below tolerance and accepted, but the top one was initially at a 12, but we brought it down to a 4 with mitigation. Mitigation that is currently still ongoing in the implementation of it, which is something, as you can see, I'm in general responsible for. If I click the toggle button here, I can have a quick visual overview of our risks before and after mitigation. And this dashboard is actually dynamic with any searching or filtering I do. So if I say I only want to see risk assessments for our systems, then it will remove the one for the process of salary payments. Now, putting this away, I just want to show you how you create risk assessments in Wide Relations. When you make a risk assessment in Wide Relations, there are two overall ways to go about it, either an overall assessment or a threat-based assessment. In the case of the salary payments here, we have done an overall assessment where we give an overall assessment of the consequence and the likelihood that something goes wrong in the process of salary payments. But if we jump into the example of Intercom, we can see we've actually picked out two specific threats from our customized threat catalog that we believe are relevant for the system. And then we assess the consequence and likelihood for each threat individually. Now, naturally, this takes a little while longer, but it's also gives you a much more detailed picture of the risks towards the system. As you can see, we've also, for this risk assessment, done it both from the organization's perspective and from the data subject's perspective. But you can do either or both. Now, both of these two examples are originally accepted because they're only at a 4 risk-wise, but the top one here was initially at a 12 for the organization and a 6 for the data subject. So the initial assessment said we did not accept it. This opened up for the second tab called risk mitigation, which is where we ongoing work with and document how we want to bring down this risk assessment. And so we've picked out some organizational and technical security measures that we want to implement. And then we've reassessed our assessment, hypothetically including these security measures, which brought this down to an acceptable level for us. Now, it would be fantastic if just by clicking a few buttons in Wide Relations, suddenly you had backup and penetration testing and everything was implemented across your whole organization. But we all know that life isn't that easy, as we were talking about earlier. And so we're going to have to create some tasks for ourselves and for others to get involved so that we can implement these security measures. This all happens in the third tab here, where you can see we already have one completed task where management approved the risk assessment after post-mitigation and also gave us the resources necessary to implement these security measures. So we have two ongoing tasks, one for implementing technical security measures and then one for organizational security measures, where I've put John and Max as assignees. But I'm the overall responsible, and they will naturally be notified as they move towards the deadline. And if they move post-deadline, I'll be notified as the responsible to make sure that I can follow up on and help them if anything's required from me on that front. And so this makes it really easy for me to have an overall overview of how the status is on each of my risk assessments and a quick overview of how our risk in the organization is in general. If I wanted to see the to-dos related to all of our risk assessments, I just jump into our task manager and get an overview from there. But here I can dive into specific risk assessments to see where we are and what we're currently working on. And that's how you manage risks with Wide Relations.